Heading to Las Vegas to catch the action at Allegiant Stadium? Skip the traffic and the sky-high room rates of the Strip. Book your stay at the South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa. The South Point is located just 7 miles away from the stadium, and it's a quick trip up the freeway, making it an affordable rideshare or taxi ride. And don't worry about getting here when you land in Vegas. We offer a convenient airport shuttle to get your getaway off to a stress-free start. Shuttles are also available on Raider game days for a small fee. So whether you're rooting for your team or seeing your favorite band in concert at Allegiant Stadium, South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa is your ticket to all the excitement. Are you ready to lock in your bets and cash in on the games this weekend? Get weekly football winners from Alex White, Chris Andrews, and Vinny Malulo.
I did take the dog 3.5.
I'm going to stay with the Colts here. That's definitely going to be one of my plays.
If the Bears have turned the corner, they have to take care of business in this game.
Yes.
Tune in for behind-the-book perspectives you won't find anywhere else.
Well, if you're looking to bet the under, you're going to get a better number.
The wise guys are certainly not going to play the favorites.
I know if it hits 7, don't blink. Maybe that's what bettors are waiting for.
Every NFL matchup, every college game that matters, the spreads, the stats, and the smart money plays.
Is there a way to bet against both teams?
Get your winning edge with Football Frenzy, streaming on YouTube every Friday at noon Pacific.
South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Looking to bet smarter? Get sports betting insight and winning picks straight from the South Point Hotel and Casino.
I think we're going to get goals from both sides here. Give me over 5.5.
That is also one of my favorite plays of the weekend is the Colts -3 on the road.
So you're getting plus 130 here.
I mean, how can you go against Tusky?
Exactly.
Join Sports by the Book at 10 a.m. Pacific and bet your winning edge.
If you're celebrating a special occasion or just love fine dining, you're in the right place. Come experience the crown jewel of South Point restaurants, Michael's Gourmet Room.
Welcome.
With over 600 different types of wines and magnificent dishes prepared tableside, you'll revel in the rich classic Vegas decor and the best black tie service in the world. This intimate gourmet room has earned accolades galore. Come to Michael's Gourmet Room for an unforgettable dining experience. Another famous restaurant is the Silverado Steakhouse, where you'll find the charm and service that discerning patrons require. From top quality steaks and chops to fresh seafood and desserts, you'll love the award-winning wine list and menu at Silverado Steakhouse. Steak lovers have even more options with primarily prime rib. Catering to hearty appetites, the menu features a variety of flavorful prime rib cuts, dry-aged to ensure tenderness, and then seasoned and slowly roasted. Although prime rib is our specialty, it's not the only thing on the menu. There's something for everyone.
Happy Wednesday, sports fanatics, and welcome in the sports betting show where we like to have a little balance here. We love to hear from the bookmakers, and we love to hear from the pros, the sharps, the best in the business. I'm Alex White, daughter of a professional sports bettor, Ryan McCormick, son of a man who runs a book. So you get a little bit of both from us each and every day here on Sports by the Book, 5 days a week, live from the South Point Hotel and Casino. Very excited about our guest. We're going to bring him right in. Can't waste any time because we got to get him out of here by a certain time. But friend of the program, you see him every Saturday on Fox. It's Chris Fallica, a.k.a. The Bear. Chris, welcome in. Make sure you guys give him a follow on X as well. It's a great follow at Chris Fallica. Excited to have you in here. It's been a minute since we've got to talk with you. Let's start with your reaction from the committee last night. Seems like they made the correct move, right? They put Bama ahead of Notre Dame. Are you confident if BYU loses, they'll make the correction again with Miami getting in over Notre Dame?
Yes, I am, and you hit it right there. There were two things that, really one, the fact that Alabama did go ahead of Notre Dame, and that kind of set it up for the Notre Dame, BYU, Miami strata that they had. And I'm with you. Look, I know Alabama has not been playing their best football lately, but resume-wise, the 7 top 30 Sagarin wins that they have, the strength of schedule, which is better than Notre Dame, they really should have been. They have a better win at Georgia than anything Notre Dame has. So I did not have a problem with that move. But what that did also do, I think, is it kind of gave the SEC a little bit of a buffer. Should Alabama lose that SEC championship game, that they're not going to fall out and fall past the magic number of 10 that would be the number that you need to get to. So I think we are going to look at a 5 SEC, and yes, I think if BYU were to lose, as the odds makers tend to think that they will, I think they are setting up the flip for Miami and Notre Dame. And I'm a Miami guy, you know that, and everybody who follows me on social media knows that. I just don't know how this is still an argument, still a debate. Notre Dame should really be discussing and arguing or debating and with these 3 SECs, with the Alabamas and the Oklahomas and the Ole Misses. Why I call it like the SEC, like love triangle of Oklahoma, Alabama, and Ole Miss. Why that transitive head-to-head property is run true, because Ole Miss beat Oklahoma, who beat Alabama. Like why that's holding true, but Miami's win in a game it never trailed over against Notre Dame, that hasn't. But I think ultimately what you're going to see is if BYU loses, Miami and Notre Dame then would be side by side, and that's when everybody in the room, majority of coaches, are going to say, "Oh, Miami did win the game." The head-to-head ultimately is too much to overcome at this point in the year. The same record in the objects to win the game. That's the one crazy thing that I think right now. Like you have so many old coaches in that room who the mentality of you are what your record says you are. We played, we beat you, we're better. But remember too, I think it was 2014 where TCU had lost the head-to-head to Baylor. Every week, TCU had been ranked ahead of Baylor until the final week, where they finally did make that head-to-head flip. I think we're looking at the same thing, and I think you can still get some unbelievably good prices out there on Miami to make the playoff right around $5 or so, even more than that in some spots. So I would suggest you make that bet, and if you want a little bit of a hedge, you bet BYU to win, because BYU wins at a plus price. Yep. They're going to go, and Miami's going to be out. But if BYU to lose, then Miami that plus price. I honestly feel that's where we're headed.
Chris, I had been saying for a couple of weeks, as soon as the Lane Kiffin situation had kind of been going down and speculating that he would be leaving, that Ole Miss should be punished and miss the playoff, even if they end up 11-1, which we could be seeing with a BYU team. And you talk about the SEC having that love triangle of those 3 teams, Alabama, Oklahoma, and Ole Miss. And we're looking at 5 SEC teams in the playoff picture right now. Why is the conversation so much between a head-to-head between Notre Dame and Miami instead of eliminating those SEC schools, which I know it's money-wise, but why are we so enamored with the SEC in the 12-team playoff?
I don't know, especially this year when you don't have that true dominant alpha SEC team. Like in the past, I can understand it, but you look at those 5 SEC teams, Miami and Notre Dame are power rated higher than all of them. in nearly every rank. I mean, maybe there are a couple of instances here or there, but it really isn't like a debate that on the field and power ratings wise, both Miami and Notre Dame should be in. And I get it too with the Ole Miss. Like you did go to Norman and you won. You went to Georgia, you couldn't get a stop, and a lot of their wins aren't necessarily great. I almost think it was kind of a Hail Mary, a security safeguard to say, hey, we're going to have Charlie Weiss Jr. is going to come back, he's going to call the plays, it's going to be okay. But still, without laying on the sideline, I think that's going to be a big deal. The Oklahoma one is the one that gets me. You look at Oklahoma, like FPI, Sagarin, SP Plus, they're like 13, 16, 13. Game control metrics are worse. They have the worst statistically efficiency rated unit amongst any contender with their offense, which is 52nd. The question I have about Oklahoma is, yeah, they won the game in Alabama, which Bama turned it over 3 times, and they're outgained by almost 200 yards. But what makes Oklahoma this year different from Miami last year? Miami was 10-2, didn't go to the conference championship game, had a dominant offense, historic offense, led by the number 1 pick in the draft, Cam Ward. The defense was garbage. This year, Oklahoma is 4th in the country in defensive efficiency. Got a really good defense, but a terrible offense. 10-2, not going to the conference championship game. So, like, there's kind of I know every year is different, but that's kind of an apples to apples analogy. I think Oklahoma is the team right now. If you get lined up against them in the college football playoff, you got to be feeling pretty good about yourself, because while the defensive numbers are there, the offense is very bad. And John Mateer, since coming back from his thumb injury, I believe has thrown 6 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Clearly that offense is struggling, and Oklahoma would be a team that I am certainly not afraid to face if I were drawn up against them in the college football playoff.
And from our standpoint, not a team that I'm afraid to bet against going into the playoffs, yeah. Oklahoma. So, Chris, I want to ask you, because this is going on a few years now. You are just crushing it in the contest. I chased you in Circumvitational last year. You're at the top again this year. And then the first time we have the Westgate, congratulations. You finished top 10. Chris Andrews and myself, we were there for a little bit, kind of fell off, but we've been watching you. We're very impressed. Just for the audience, and we'll get to some of the games this weekend, but long term, can you tell us about your process and how you really go about picking these games?
I typically like to try and wait until as long in the week as possible, as late in the week as possible, to get as much information. I'm not necessarily worried about the stale number if there's a bit of CLV later in the week as opposed to the contest number on Wednesday, because a lot of people are doing that. And I guess this year it did work to my advantage to not necessarily take the number that moved quite a bit and play it in my favor. There's certain fades, I guess. I'll be fully transparent. There's certain people out there that I get picks and I'm like, people who are big betting favorites that seem to be very public favorites, or betting against dogs that seem to be very common underdogs that typically don't come through. I like trying to find a lot of games that might be a little bit ugly to people to bet on and really back them. And it's funny because Chris and I have had this conversation for quite some time about kind of like the counterintuitive nature of the betting and contest betting in particular. Like you see -2.5 and you automatically want to bet the favorite, when really, like, if it's 2.5, you should really be taking the dog and laying the 3.5. Like 6.5, you want to take the 6.5 and lay this. It's a mind warp of sometimes. But yeah, I was in there for a while. I got up to tied for second, and then the week that ultimately I had Auburn plus the 6.5 at Vandy, and I had Colorado plus the points at West Virginia. Colorado missed an extra point, which caused the game to be a win for West Virginia and not a half a point for me. Auburn obviously blew the lead at Vandy and lost by 7 in overtime. The leader had both West Virginia and Vanderbilt. I had Colorado at Auburn. That 3.5, 4-point swing right there with only a couple of weeks left was a little bit too much for me to make up in the end. But you know what? At nearly 1,100 people to come in tied for 8th, I will take that, as long as being able to bet these games that I'm playing on my own and bet the sides of the people who are above me, who are obviously having great years and great handicappers as well. It's been a good college football season.
It most definitely has, and we like watching, and we appreciate you jumping on to give us some of your takes for this weekend coming up. So let's dive right into it. An important game here in the American, because one of these two will be in the playoffs here, North Texas and Tulane. We know North Texas, fantastic offense. We have their struggles on the defensive side, and Tulane now with Retzlaff has done a great job here catching 2.5 against the Mean Green, total 66. What are you looking at in this one?
I like Tulane here. I think look. I know so much done the narrative about both coaches not being here anymore after this, but John Summerall being able to stay on through the playoff, I think is a great deal. Same with Morris at North Texas. Like I think Tulane is a little bit more battle tested, a little bit more well rounded of a team. I know they did lose to Ole Miss, but they do have that win against Duke. North Texas really has not played a difficult non-conference schedule or a difficult AAC schedule for that matter. You look at some of the games that they had in the regular season. Right? Did they play in the who am I confusing North Texas and Tulane with? Did they play in the regular season?
No,
or am I
they did
confusing
not.
That with someone?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was USF.
It was USF.
I was confusing the big wing. Saying too much green in my mind, but yeah, I think Tulane is a small home dog here. Is the right side. I trust Retzlaff. That big win at Memphis a couple of weeks ago, especially that first half, was super efficient offensively. And I don't know if the Mean Green have the defense really to be able to slow them down. Where on the flip, I do trust Tulane's defense a little bit more. So I did take the points here with the Green Wave.
I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be with you there. North Texas is such a fun story, and I've been rooting for them, and their offense is awesome. But I did make this number Tulane 1, so it was already a lean that way. And then diving into it, you mentioned South Florida. I mean, that was a struggle for them to stop Byron Brown, their quarterback. Right. And I think Retzlaff, he is leading the team in rushing yards, so could probably do the same thing. Should be a great game. Nothing on the total, right? Because it's already very high at 66.
Yeah, it is high already. I mean, it feels like it's going to be one of those games where everyone's going to kind of feel over is the way to go. Wouldn't surprise me if you see a little bit maybe more defense in this game. Maybe Tulane tries to use Retzlaff as a runner and use their running game to try and keep that North Texas offense off the field. So slightly to the under would be for me in that game.
That is a tough thing, Chris. I just want to kind of pivot really quick. When we're looking at these title games, are you looking for more unders, or are you thinking it's the last game, everything on the line? We might see, some different trick plays and stuff from the offenses to try and find some success.
I think breaking tendency is obviously something that a lot of these teams need to do. And I think a lot of times maybe you're going to get some higher scoring games in situations that maybe the spread is a little bit bigger and maybe the underdog has to kind of do some crazy things to stay in the game. But I think in maybe these closer line games where these teams are a little bit more similar, I still think that winning the game and winning the surest way is probably, maybe there's a little less risk, I should say, in that sense. I go back and look at a lot of numbers and a lot of these conference title games and look at some of the trends. Like you would think, like the MAC would be a conference where all these conference title games would be going over.
Right.
But most of the ones in recent memory have gone under. Conference USA is a conference where most of these conference title games have been going over. Now again, it varies year to year, and it depends on teams that are getting in these games. But it seems to me, I am an under player to begin with, so under is typically what I look.
Great nugget right there. So maybe bigger spreads, you could look for more overs, but tight games like this, where it really is a pick-em between these two, kind of even playing field there. Let's go to a big spread here. And we already saw this matchup once with BYU and Texas Tech. BYU, their whole season on the line. Texas Tech really trying to get one of those top 4 spots here. 13-point favorite, total 49.5.
I'll lay it here. I know it's always dangerous to come back and lay a big number in a game where the first game was a blowout. In theory, you're going to see the underdog or the team that got blown out the first time play a lot better and with an improved effort. But I just don't know if Chase Roberts, BYU's best receiver, can't go. That's a problem. They had 250 yards in the first meeting in Lubbock. It was 29-7, and it could have been worse. Tech stalled in the red zone a couple of times. Very easily could have been 38-7 or even into the 40s as well. This Tech defense is really, really good. I don't think Bachmeier is going to have very, very much success against this unit. Good on Kalani Sitake for staying at BYU. I always like seeing coaches that feel like a good fit at a place stay and not go and chase the money. But I think here the Cougars are up against it, and I expect a relatively stress-free win for Joey McGuire and the Red Raiders, and I think they're looking at that first-round bye.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, 5 field goals for Texas Tech in that one, where could have been a lot uglier than it was. Let's keep it moving here to the SEC. We already saw this matchup as well, and Bama got the best of the Bulldogs. And Kalen DeBoer has actually been really good against Georgia since being here at Alabama, but they're catching 2.5 in the SEC title game at total 48.
I feel I'm going back to a conversation we just had and talk. I hear Chrissy in my head now. I feel like I'm potentially walking into a trap with Georgia. I think about the first meeting and that Georgia couldn't ultimately get a stop early on, but then finally they did. And if you look at that game, though, Georgia really was up against it injury-wise. They didn't have either of their starting offensive tackles. The defense has gotten better since then. Nate Frazier got benched after a fumble. He only carried the ball 4 times. Like, if Georgia doesn't turn the ball over here, I feel like they win because Alabama has not been playing their best football over the last month very easily. Could have lost last week at Jordan-Hare very easily. Probably should have lost in Columbia against South Carolina and did turn the ball over 3 times in the loss against Oklahoma. Ty Simpson, his level of play has gone down dramatically. The one thing I will say, though, is I wonder if Drew Bobo, Georgia's starting center, being out, will give Alabama a little bit of success rushing the passer or stopping that interior run with Tim Keenan. I think he's going to be very difficult to block. I will hesitantly lay it with Georgia, but it would not surprise me at all if Alabama won this game. The biggest thing I'm trying to figure out here is the psychology of Georgia. Like Kirby even alluded to it last week about you worry about getting hurt in a game and what winds up happening. You get hurt. Georgia was not counting on having to play this game. I think they were quite content to have this week off and then not play until they would have probably had a first-round bye, regardless of whether they're in this game or not. So they would have been able to heal up. But the way Alabama has been trending, and then just knowing that if Cash Jones was able to make a cut or make a block in that game, Georgia probably comes back and wins that game. I think Georgia here in this stadium, I'll lay the 2.5 with Georgia.
It is a very tough one, as you mentioned, with the center for Georgia, and kind of struggled against Georgia Tech because of that offensively. Yeah. But in the last month, I mean, Ty Simpson has definitely regressed, and Georgia's defense has gotten better. So a lot to factor into that SEC. Should be a good one, as it usually is for us. Let's go to the ACC, and I have listened to your podcast, Spare Bets, and I know you and our friend Sammy P feel the same way. Me and Chris Andrews and a lot of people do. It's a Duke game, so it's probably a stay away here, but Duke is catching 3.5 points against Virginia. Virginia's almost the same, even though I had some luck with them this year. I was on them in some of their games where a lot of people said they were a luck box. We've already seen this matchup. They won. They outgained Duke by quite a few yards, and now they're a 3.5-point favorite. Is this a stay away? Is there anything you could do here, side or total?
I'm not playing the side. I've joked on the pod with Sammy P. Like I've lost Manny's number. It's on block, caller ID block. I don't ever want to have the late night call from Duke ever again. They've been that's going to be one of the more amazing results of the season when you go back and look up like Duke wins the ACC and you just see that final score at home against Illinois from earlier in the year. I would tend to lean towards the over here. I think Chandler Morris is going to have some success throwing the ball and moving the ball like they did the first game. Duke and Mensa, obviously, offensively, have put up a bunch of great numbers this year. look, Duke allowed, what, 37, 38 points. UConn couldn't stop them. So this could potentially be one of those potential higher scoring games. It's crazy to think that the ACC could potentially get left out of the playoff if Duke were to win here and you get those multiple group of fives. But that's the biggest storyline in this game. Ultimately, what happens if Virginia wins and then they get the auto, or if Duke wins, then are we looking at multiple G5? So, but I would my only play here would be leaning towards the over 58.5 here, 7.5.
You know, with just keeping up with all the quarterback and the transfer portals and all the movement, I didn't really notice until diving in last night, but it is pretty cool that North Texas and Tulane are playing in the American Championship game, right? And both quarterbacks have been awesome. Their former quarterbacks are playing against each other in this game here with Duke and Virginia. So, I mean, that is the cool part about college football right now, and the movement and the fact that these guys are eligible the very next year, right?
That's a good note right there. I'm gonna have to steal that from you, Alex, and use that as one of the bear bites this week.
Yes,
I like that.
Yes, you can.
It's a good one.
Yeah, Tulane and North Texas. I was like, oh, Chandler Morris. That's right, North Texas. So, and then Virginia's old quarterback, Calandria, he'll be playing in the Mountain West. So,
yep.
It works out for these programs and kind of with better systems for these guys.
By the way, is boo on the ACC for the tiebreak? Even a bigger boo on the Mountain West for their tiebreak. I had a New Mexico ticket at 16-1 just to make the Mountain West championship team, just to make it. Yeah, and I was able to, once the New Mexico game went final, I did did play a little Boise money line and say when they were a dog against Utah State in a game that the Aggies wound up blowing. But yeah, that was a tough beat. But how the ACC doesn't have a tiebreaker in there with where college football playoff rank or poll average or something doesn't supersede to avoid the embarrassment of having a 7-5 team in your conference title game is beyond me.
Would love to see Miami and Virginia. I think that would be a pretty good game. I mean, Miami would be a pretty good size favorite, but still, yeah, I agree. They should have something in there. Let's go to the big one. It's been a while since we have seen number 1 and number 2 play for their conference championship here, but we've got it. Ohio State number 1, Indiana number 2. The bettors, like the Hoosiers in this one, bet from 6 all the way down to 4.5 now. Chris, are you with the early money, or do you like Ohio State here minus 4.5?
I bet Ohio State minus 3.5 at FanDuel a couple of weeks back on a look-ahead line, assuming that this number was going to run to 6.5, and stay there. And the fact that it hasn't has shocked me. It makes me feel that I am on the right side with Ohio State here. Seeing Indiana being a little bit of a public dog, and I hope people aren't just assuming because the game that is at Lucas Oil that it's going to be an Indiana home crowd. That's not going to be the case at all. It'll probably be a 50-50-ish type split. I would be normally a little bit concerned for Ohio State in this spot. All the emotion, all the effort put into playing Michigan last week, ending that losing streak, massive win. Now is it a little bit of a letdown? Okay, now we're playing the Big Ten championship game, which, yeah, it's a conference championship. It matters. But then we got the playoff coming up. We know we're getting a first round bye regardless. Typically, I would be concerned, but Ohio State is a very veteran, leader-based type team, especially on the defense. Guys like Caleb Downs, I think the team really gravitates towards him. Jeremiah Smith and Cornell Tate, even though they're on the offensive side of the ball and receivers, I think it's a strong leadership deal there. I am going to stay with my Ohio State minus 3.5. I know a lot of people like Indiana. It wouldn't surprise me at all if IU won the game. But I think the playoff of this game as well could potentially be in the Heisman market. Where do we stand? Do we think if Ohio State wins, does that mean Julian Sayin is definitely the winner? If Indiana wins, does that definitely mean Fernando Mendoza is the winner? I think probably the latter is true. But I think if Ohio State wins, there really may be a bet to be made on Diego Pavia to win the Heisman. The Heisman voting is regionalized. There is no SEC candidate this year. Pavia will likely get every first place vote in the Southeast region. I'll probably get a lot of first place votes from the West region as well, knowing that he played at New Mexico State. The Big Ten Midwest region is going to kind of be split but between Mendoza, Sayin, and Jeremiah Love. I think the way this voting block shakes down, I think Diego Pavia is alive, and I think he's still somewhere around 3.5 to 1 or so in some spots.
I love it on you guys' pod too. You, Jeff, and Sammy P. You were talking about if this was a mid-off, right, and a lower scoring game, then that could help Diego Pavia as well.
Yeah, it totally could, and I think it potentially could be. I mean, if you look at the Ohio State defense, they haven't allowed more than 16 points all year, and they allowed an early score, a couple of those scores last week in Michigan, and didn't allow anything the rest of the way. So I think this defense is going to be very hard for Indiana to move the ball. They have really struggled. If you look at Indiana's rushing splits against really good teams, they've struggled running the ball. A lot of their numbers have been put up against some of the lesser competition that they faced, and certainly the Buckeyes are a tough nut to crack. Oh, yeah, well, that's a poor pun. I didn't even think of what I was saying. I did not mean to make the poor pun, but I did. But yeah, I'm gonna lay it here with Ohio State.
Well, and that could be a problem because last year we did see Indiana go to the shoe and they lost 38-15 and they were held to 85 rushing. Now, they're a much better rushing team this year, but that does scare me.
That's my question for you, Alex, is what do we see in both teams to make you believe that the result in Columbus last November will be different from the result this year in the Big Ten championship game?
Honestly, I'm with you. I don't see enough yet with Indiana, and I think. All right, so now
I know I got a little bit of a roadblock if I take Ohio State in the Circa Friday Football Invitation. Like I can block you from gaining a point.
That's true. That is true. But I think that's the right side. I really do, and I'm going to wait and see and hope that we get a better number. Great number by you to get that 3.5. Ryan has one more for you before we get you out of here because I know we're kind of short on time.
We're good.
It is more for Chris Andrews here, but how deep of a hole has Penn State dug themselves in, getting rid of James Franklin and all these head coaches now getting pay bumps because of them?
It's amazing. Like, I had this conversation with my Big Noon kickoff colleagues, like when the firing happened, and I said, fill in the blank. Penn State is a blank job in the Big Ten. And I think most people settled on like top 5 at minimum, maybe even 4 or 3. And the whole purpose of getting rid of James Franklin early was to get a head start on finding a replacement. And I think they felt really, really good about their chances of landing Kalani Sitake. I think they're looking for just a nuts and bolts football kind of guy, and they want someone who they could bring in, maybe an offensive mind as a coordinator to shake things up, and a guy who's open to bringing in a staff and not necessarily saying, okay, you're going to hire me, I'm going to bring my whole staff in. And I think there were some candidates that they brought in that had that mentality, and Pat Kraft was kind of like, wasn't too sold on that. But I don't know where they go now. You've got no coach. Signing day is today. You got one of the worst ranked classes out there. I still think they're going to wind up with someone who will get the program right. I don't think they regret firing James. I think they felt that it kind of run its course there, and you ran to reach the peak that they did, and he wasn't ultimately going to get you to that national championship that you want. But then again, there are probably 120 teams out there in college football that would love to have had the problems that Penn State has. I don't know what's going to happen now. Early on, I heard like Joe Brady could potentially be a candidate, and then you hear he really just wants to call plays and be in the NFL. Brian Hartline was someone who was mentioned. He's in South Florida. Manny Diaz had been an assistant there. Do they call Manny again now? I can't see that. Brian Dable's name has been someone that's kind of shot up. Like if you follow the prediction markets, Brian Dable, Jeff Brom from Louisville. I don't know if he leaves his alma mater to go to Penn State. That's another guy who has been out there. So it's an interesting situation now. I think they really thought that they had Sitake as a done deal, and I think that would have been a good hire because I heard rumblings as well. If you brought in Sitake, maybe someone like Joe Moorhead returns as an offensive coordinator, and to have Crumble Cookies come in there at the last minute with a big offer to keep him, not good. I feel Penn State was my first love in college football as well, so I always have a soft spot for them and want to see them do well.
And then I also am curious, just on your thoughts. I've had this idea with the playoff format of having if you win your conference championship, you should be able to host a game. And this conversation kind of more plays into the fact that we're now getting 2 G5s possibly in this playoff. Why not make Oregon go on the road to JMU? Why not make Ole Miss go on the road to Tulane or North Texas to prove that they're one of the big schools? Wouldn't that be better for college football?
I like your idea of giving the quarterfinals home games, but at the same time, you lose me with the G5 teams hosting games. I mean, there's a reason that they're 17, 18, 19, 20-point underdogs in this game. And I think if there's a threshold of qualification for these other teams to be ranked in the top 10 or 11 or 12 or whatever, there should be a threshold of qualification for the group of 5 teams. Tulane lost by what, 30 at Ole Miss earlier in the year.
Yeah.
North Texas, I don't think played a G5 team. It's not the NCAA tournament where you're going to get a Cinderella run for one of these teams. Now, if you're a team like a really good Boise team like we had last year, or a really good TCU team like we've had in the past, or the Cincinnati team that wanted to make in the college football playoff, and you're in the top 10 or top 15 or whatever, yeah, then sure, you've met a threshold. But the fact that we're steering towards potentially, not only one group of 5 team, another group of 5 team at the expense of potentially Miami or Notre Dame, who either of those teams get in, they can make a run to win a national title. There's something wrong there.
But not necessarily about keeping those teams out and giving them the bid because they won the conference, but just you mentioned Tulane getting beat up by Ole Miss at Ole Miss, but making Ole Miss then have to go on the road instead of having their home field. Wouldn't that kind of not necessarily balance things out, but they wouldn't be as big of a favorite, and it would kind of give Tulane or these smaller schools a little bit more of a chance.
Yeah, why do I guess my counter would be why do we want to not only give the G5 team the benefit of the doubt, who's power rated well below these great teams that are making the playoff, we're giving them the benefit of the doubt already to get in the playoff when they're not one of the 12 best teams in the country. Now we want to give them a home game as well to try and mitigate that edge even more. Like I can't. I like the idea. I like the idea of hosting games in the quarter, but I can't. Giving them the bid, I think already is enough. I can't give them I can't give them a home game.
Okay.
Chris,
Look at you going to bat for the little guy.
Well, I mean, we the big guys don't need any more money, and if we have the chance to give the little guys a little more money for their program to help them grow, and chance to get them on the spotlight, and again make the big dog prove that they deserve to advance, why not make them do it on the road?
Yeah, the money thing is I think a big deal.
Yeah,
and I think the money is probably one of the reasons why this gap now between P5 and G5 has grown quite a bit, because the NIL and the money of these teams and the portal, big schools can just swoop in. If you're a good G5 team, they're just going to sweep it and take your best players. And I think that's why this gap has grown, and you're seeing potentially Texas Tech as a 20-point favorite, or Oregon is a 23.5-point favorite. And if you're doing some look-ahead lines here with potentially games that they could be happening in that first round.
Chris, we appreciate you so much. You're the best. We'll have to get you on one more time if we can make it work, because Chris Andrews wants to be at the desk as well as we get into this playoff bracket.
Absolutely.
That I'm so looking forward to. So,
let's do something again at some point right before the playoff gets going.
Perfect.
Awesome.
We can't wait. Make sure and follow him, Chris Fallica, on X, and he posts all his picks, so you're missing out. I mean, he's winning these contests. He gives you the winners. We appreciate you. Thank you to the Bear. We're going to take a quick break here on Sports by the Book. When we get back, we have some of tonight's action to get to. 5 games on the ice, a couple on the hardwood, and a lot of people were at that big Blackhawks Knights game last night. Can't wait to hear from everybody in the chat when we get back.
Looking to bet smarter? Get sports betting insight and winning picks straight from the South Point Hotel and Casino.
I think we're going to get goals from both sides here. Give me over 5.5.
That is also one of my favorite plays of the weekend is the Colts -3 on the road.
So you're getting plus 130 here.
I mean, how can you go against Tuskegee?
Exactly.
Join Sports by the Book at 10 a.m. Pacific and bet your winning edge.
If you're celebrating a special occasion or just love fine dining, you're in the right place. Come experience the crown jewel of South Point restaurants, Michael's Gourmet Room.
Welcome.
With over 600 different types of wines and magnificent dishes prepared tableside, you'll revel in the rich classic Vegas decor and the best black tie service in the world. This intimate gourmet room has earned accolades galore. Come to Michael's Gourmet Room for an unforgettable dining experience. Another famous restaurant is the Silverado Steakhouse, where you'll find the charm and service that discerning patrons require. From top quality steaks and chops to fresh seafood and desserts, you'll love the award-winning wine list and menu at Silverado Steakhouse. Steak lovers have even more options with primarily prime rib. Catering to hearty appetites, the menu features a variety of flavorful prime rib cuts, dry aged to ensure tenderness, and then seasoned and slowly roasted. Although prime rib is our specialty, it's not the only thing on the menu. There's something for everyone.
Always the best when we can have the Bear on with us here on Sports by the Book. We asked him his reaction to the show last night with the College Football Playoff Committee, and I liked his answer too. I do agree. I do think that they corrected with how far they had dropped Alabama initially, and if BYU is to lose, I think that they could make that correction and get Miami in the playoffs, as they should be ahead of Notre Dame. We want to hear from you guys. We have a poll question up. Who you would like to see out? 4 teams to pick from. So 16 votes so far. So we'd like everybody to jump in and give us your thoughts there. All right, let's get into it. We usually start the show with a recap. So Ryan, let's talk about last night. And I already saw Attila had jumped in right away saying that he hoped you made it to the game. You were debating. So we're all curious. Did you go see the Blackhawks and the Knights?
I was in attendance. I did get into T-Mobile Arena last night. I did wear my Blackhawks jersey. My girlfriend and my daughter wore their Knights jerseys. So I was the lone one in the family rooting for the Hawks. But first, the recap. NHL favorites went 5-5 straight up yesterday. 5 puck lines were covered, 2 reverse, and totals were 4 and 6. But talking about that Knights Blackhawks game specifically, the Blackhawks should have won that game. The first 2 goals that the Knights scored in the game were off of rebounds off of a Blackhawks player. So really 2 own goals by the Blackhawks. Beautiful goal by Connor Bedard in the third period to take a 3-2 lead. The Knights ultimately ended up tying it with 2 minutes to go, which was the loudest the building was all night. Seemed very quiet, kind of disappointing with how Knights fans are currently. And then the overtime goalie stood on their heads. It was honestly a phenomenal game.
Yes.
We need to put more respect on the Blackhawks in line pricing, and I'm glad that, honestly, the Blackhawks were the right side last night, and getting over $2 was a good chance to take. Laying $3 with the Knights is not anything you can do for the foreseeable future because they do not look good. Yeah, it ultimately was a good game. Girlfriend and baby got to celebrate, enjoy their team win. But my original team, not so victorious.
It was a great game. It really was. I will say, and I'm going to steal this from Nick, but that it could be a turning point for the Knights. You saw them all rally around Carter Hart at the end, and really happy for him to get that win, first game back in the bigs here. So both sides. I mean, Bedard, though, he just highlight reel last night. Unbelievable stuff from him. So, yeah, the Blackhawks, you should be excited about where they are right now. And with Spencer Knight.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah. Spencer Knight, Connor Bedard, Frankie Nazar. We have a pretty good core. We've got some international guys that are still yet to be called up into the NHL. And we could be getting a top 10 pick from the Florida Panthers this year, with how bad they are looking currently in the NHL standings. So that pick they ended up giving us for Seth Jones last year is unprotected. So if it ends up in the top 10, the Hawks will have another pick at the top of the lottery.
All right, well, let's, as we did the Power Four and the American with Chris Fallica, we do have some other games. I just kind of want to quickly go through them because it is Wednesday. That is Bruce Marshall's day. We do have a few picks from him that we want to give out too that are related to college football. Do you want to go through or start that off for us?
Sure. The first one would be the Red Raiders. Bruce likes them to lay the points. Currently sitting at 12-13 here at the South Point. There are 12.5s available if you want to lay less, but Bruce is good with laying the 13 with the Red Raiders there.
Looks like a match there between Chris Fallica and Bruce Marshall. Yesterday we went through that game with Matt Neverett. He was leaning to the over. Kind of goes with what else the Bears said about a bigger spread. Maybe BYU really trying to throw everything out there. Did you have a play in that one?
Yeah, I'm also with the Red Raiders.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everybody's kind of leaning that way. They have looked dominant. I was looking back. My number's only 11, so it's more of a lean to taking the points here with BYU, but I'm not confident about that just yet. So moving on for Bruce Marshall. I don't have anything on the MAC, but he does.
Yes,
luckily.
He does. Yeah, he all of his plays are on Saturday's games. He does like Miami, Ohio, getting the points. Technically the road team against Western Michigan there in Detroit at Ford Field for the MAC championship. So again, Bruce Marshall likes Miami, Ohio.
Very good. I think that's because of how they have been playing. Of course, their quarterback did leave to get ready for the NFL draft. Switch quarterbacks have been playing really good, though, with him. Opposite side as the Bear here with the SEC championship game, though, looks like he is going with Alabama. That's taking the points. So maybe he just thinks they will at least keep it close here, if not win outright with Alabama. Yeah,
just 2.5 pretty much everywhere in the market. But Bruce does like the Crimson Tide getting the 2.5 there. And then going to the ACC, who Bruce has been playing all year. He is going with the underdog, getting 3.5 with the Duke Blue Devils. He likes them getting the 3.5 there against Virginia in Charlotte.
For some reason, with how crazy the ACC has been all year long, my gut tells me that is probably the right side between these two. I mean, I just think this might be a shootout, and it's just going to be the last team to score, right? Or team to make the fewest mistakes, one less turnover, but that's a tough one to handicap. So thank you to Bruce for giving us his pick there. And one more from him.
Yeah, the Big Ten title game, the number 1 versus number 2 team in the country. Bruce is going with number 1, taking the Buckeyes minus there are 3.5s. So we'll give Bruce the better price here. 3.5 in the market. It is 4.5 now at the South Point. But Bruce does like the Buckeyes to get it done.
All right. Do you think this game is feeling like a Joes versus pros, or, I mean, with that early movement, that's got to be some of the professionals, right? Taking the points from 6 down to 4.
I definitely think so. I don't think Indiana is getting respected. I don't think Kirk Cignetti, what he's building there, is getting respected. But it is hard to go against the champions. And Ryan Day, what he's building there, it does look to be like a dynasty. So I will be rooting against the Buckeyes. So that also might be what plays into this public rooting against the Buckeyes, against the number 1 team in the country, going for the underdog, and just a better story could be playing in, and could ultimately what pushes it lower as we get closer to kick as well. So, yeah, if you like the Hoosiers, I think you got to keep playing it now. It's gonna get closer as we get closer to kickoff.
A lot of motivation for both of these teams, right? Because Indiana, in the sense of winning the Big Ten Conference Championship, I mean, that is huge. They've only just won a share of it in the past years ago. Yeah. Ohio State, though, I mean, they went through the 12-team playoffs and dominated pretty much, right? Yeah. Last year, they have a chance to go back-to-back and to be undefeated in the season. So a lot on the line for them as well. I did hear, so I have heard people that make numbers and have power ratings, and Chris said his was even 5 or 5.5, right? Point difference between these two.
Yeah.
I have heard other people that are very well respected have closer to like a 4-point difference between these two. So that could be part of it. Just a number take from 6 and it'll get it all the way down to 4. But what I saw from Ohio State last week against Michigan, I think they're on a mission. And they're just a sound football team, best defense that I've seen in a long time here in college football. So, all right, any more in the chat about last night's game or anything that we need to check in on before we go to hockey for tonight?
JR did let us know that he unfortunately did miss the game. We'll be looking forward to getting to see Bedard in person next year when the Hawks come to town. Ultimately, yeah, it was a great game, and Attila seconded my point of, very lucky deflection goals for the Knights to kind of get that one to overtime. But
they don't ask Cal, right?
Yeah, the 2 points is 2 points, and both teams ended up getting a point. But the Hawks a lot more feisty than people are recognizing.
That was a much needed overtime or shootout win for the Knights too, because it's been pretty ugly so far this year in that regard. Yeah,
the confidence boost with Carter Hart, or for Carter Hart. Getting it done in overtime, getting it done in a shootout, really only allowing a goal to Connor Bedard. The mentality, to Nick's point, it could be different going forward.
Ticker Trivia is live now. Go ahead and check the bottom there if you want to jump in. If you want to be the first one to get the answer correct, go ahead and throw it in the chat. Vince will be watching to see who gets the right answer first. What is the sport today for trivia?
It is a hockey question, so we'll keep it in the hockey vein, and we'll move to hockey here as we'll go through today's 5 games on the ice in the NHL. We will start in New Jersey, I believe. The Stars, are taking on the Devils. The majority of the games today are pretty close to a pick'em. This one is -115 for the Devils at home, getting 105 for the Stars back. Total is 6 with the -115 to the under.
I'm going to be honest, I was nervous about this one. 1-1 after the first period. I had under 5.5, and somehow even with overtime, it stayed. It was a 2-2 going into overtime there between the Stars and the Rangers last night. Kind of want to go right back to it here at 6, even though I know the Devils are a better offensive and a better scoring team than the Rangers. I still think you're getting some value there with the 6. You got Jake Ottinger going now for the Stars. Was the backup yesterday, so I like under 6 in this one and lean a little bit to the Stars, but I'm not going to play the side there. That was not emotional, but it was a tough loss there for Dallas, who I think was the better side in that overtime loss. So under 6 for me in that one. Anything jump out to you from the Devils and the Stars?
The Devils haven't necessarily been playing well recently, but I won't be playing this one. I'm just going to enjoy this one, being able to watch it. It is the second you had mentioned, the second of a back-to-back for the Stars. They are one of 3 teams that are on the second of a back-to-back tonight in action. The Canadiens and the Capitals are the other 2 that are on a back-to-back, and we will go to the Canadiens game as we'll go to Philly first. The Sabres on the road in Philly. Sabres are a road favorite, -130. Total is also 6, but this time with the juice to the over.
I'm guessing because the Sabres are playing better as of late. I mean, they're 6-4 in their last 10, so that is better, but I'm kind of confused why they are the favorite here on the road. And Buffalo's coming off a 5-1 win over the Jets on Monday. Flyers coming off a 5-1 loss, but that was to Pittsburgh in a very emotional rivalry game there. 2 backup goalies going. I like the Flyers getting plus money here at home. Plus 110 for me with Philadelphia.
I'm right there with you. We've been able to look at how these odds have moved. The futures odds I'm talking. Philly is getting a little bit more respect. Their price has actually dropped in half to win the cup and the conference. So them being an underdog here, getting plus 110. Yeah, going to be playing the Flyers. Going to Montreal, the Winnipeg Jets taking on the Canadiens. The Jets are another road favorite here tonight. Minus 115, slight. Minus 115, total is 6 with minus 125 to the over.
Is this another? Okay, so we're not getting plus money here anymore with the Canadiens at home, but it's another one. I'd look to the home team. I mean, the Jets have really just been struggling, but I guess Montreal too. So the Jets are 4-6 in their last 10, and the Canadiens 3-6-1. I'm going to pass on this one, but if it was plus money with the Canadiens, then I'd probably jump in. Just with Hellebuck and that injury news since then, you haven't really seen as much of a fight here in Winnipeg. So I'm going to pass, but I lean to the home team. What about you?
This one is also a pass for me. It's exact same thing. If I was getting a plus price with the Habs, I'd be playing it. Or the Jets. I liked them to begin the year, and we had talked to Eddie Olczyk, and I liked them then. But yeah, things seem to be falling apart there in Winnipeg. So it'll be a stay away there in that Canadian battle. We'll go to Anaheim. This one is a pick'em here at the South Point. Utah, the Mammoth, on the road taking on the Ducks. The Ducks still the top team in the Pacific. This one total is 6.5, with juice to the over.
Ryan, the time has come. I mean, you have been betting the Ducks, getting a nice plus price for a few months now, and now we're at a pick'em. So that is unfortunate here. But I like Anaheim, even not getting a plus price, just here at minus 110. I do think they're the better team. They've been very good at home all year long. And Utah right now is really struggling. They've lost 8 straight road games coming into this one. So could be a turning point, but I think this Anaheim's team is for real. And I think that it's a hard spot for them to try and get back on track. 2-5-3 in their last 10 for the Mammoth. Lost 4 in a row. And as I mentioned, lost 8 straight road games. So some people like to, try and play the do factor. But with hockey and baseball, I tend to like playing streaks more and or against losing streaks. So Anaheim for me, who is 9-3, 9-3-0 actually at home this year.
Just looking at their recent schedules, so they are coming into this one off a win. They lost before that. They won before that. They lost before that. They won before that. They lost before that. They won before that. They won before that. They lost. They lost. So this team hasn't been able to keep things rolling. But coming back home against this Mammoth team.
You're talking about the Ducks?
Yes, okay. The Ducks. Coming back home against this Mammoth team, I do think they'll be able to get it done tonight. And in order to get a plus price, I'll be playing the puck line.
Okay.
I'll take the plus 220 on a chance to beat the Mammoth here by at least 2.
Not bad. I don't hate that at all.
So going to the final game of the night, the Capitals on the road in San Jose taking on the Sharks. The Capitals are a minus 150 road favorite, getting plus 130 on the buyback for the Sharks. 6 is the total with minus 115 to the over.
I wish this was Logan Thompson because I would be taking that puck line here with the Capitals. It is going to be Charlie Lindgren. Numbers aren't terrible. 4-3-1 on the year. 3-1-2 goals against and an .886 save percentage. That scares me a little bit there. But the Caps are good on the road. 7-4-1. San Jose, though, we've been playing them at home. The Sharks are pretty feisty. They're 9-4-3 at home this year, so that kind of makes me a little nervous. But there's a streak going here for the Caps. 5. They've won 5 in a row. I will mention, though, their travel. Away to away. They just played. That is why we are getting Lindgren in this one. 3-4 and 4-6 nights. But the Sharks are also on their 4th game in 6 nights, too. So Washington or pass for me. What say you?
I am right there with you. The Sharks have been playing well. Both of these offenses are fully capable, and I do expect there to be a lot of open ice here tonight. It's just a matter of will we get the saves from the goalies. So I would be much more inclined to be taking the over, the minus 115, laying the juice. But this one will ultimately end up being a stay off for me.
Oh, let me check that total there.
Unless you can convince me right now.
For the over?
Yeah.
No streaks going. Washington does have 2 straight unders,
Okay.
but the Sharks 2 straight overs in this one. I mean, I would add a little bit there for Charlie Lindgren being in and not Logan Thompson, right? So my number is 6. So I'm with you. I kind of like that over there. Especially, well, I don't. The Capitals are funny, right?
Right. Yeah, they'll pile it on. They have no problem piling it on. It's just a matter of getting the ball rolling, which.
Or other times they can look a little slow.
Yeah, second up a back-to-back could be
and
the
they'll
case.
kind of just tap out early and let that one go. But they do have a winning streak going, so I think that's probably a safe one. They're going over there.
Okay.
Before we get out of here and we check in with the poll and we check in with the trivia answer here, couple college basketball, just wanted to give out strictly number-based. I don't have any real stats or details diving into these games here, but Louisville against Arkansas. Louisville is a road favorite. It is their first road game of the year, so I do have that little tidbit. So I think that's the right side, but I would just be careful with their first road game. That's usually a spot to fade them. So maybe some in-game if you can get a better number, much higher on Arkansas at home. There was one other one, and I believe it was UCLA going today, UCLA and Washington. Total at 142.5. I think that total is too high. Neither of them crazy trends. 4 and 3 to the under. So leaning that way, but it's a lot of red here. Really good defenses and offenses that have kind of struggled. So I think that total is too high. 142.5 going under that one in UCLA and Washington college basketball. So just those two. Now, Ryan, did we have a final for our poll question on which team our viewers want to be left out?
Yeah, we do. So with the poll question, you're uninvited. Of the 4 teams that you don't want to see in the college football playoff, Alabama, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, and Notre Dame. And our viewers do not want to see the Crimson Tide in the playoff again. So they're rooting against them this weekend, rooting for Georgia. But I'm pretty sure we're going to end up seeing them regardless.
How many times was Sean allowed to vote in there against the Crimson Tide?
Well, he has 3 monitors plus his phone, so yeah, he might have inflated that there a little bit. But just an added note back on the college basketball, I did make the point yesterday that is the ACC-SEC Challenge.
Yes.
The SEC dominated last year, winning 14 of 16. Last night, the Dookies got it done by 1. Carolina did get the underdog, did win as an underdog. And 4 other ACC teams got it done. So yesterday, 6 and 3, the ACC was straight up. We have 7 games remaining here tonight in that ACC-SEC Challenge. Just bragging rights for those 2 conferences against each other in basketball.
Hey, those were some great games yesterday. I got to imagine we have some more good ones here today. Yeah. So that'll be fun. Once again, anything jump out to you between those 2 conferences?
Not necessarily. Kind of wait until we get closer, middle to the end of the year to actually
I mean,
fully get into it. But
geez, Duke and Kansas let me down yesterday, and Kansas just last hour. Syracuse was a winner.
Yes, it was.
And Matt liked that game under. He also liked the 8.5, but he talked himself out of it.
Yeah. So
we got to watch out for that team. Pretty good.
Yeah, they're going to be pretty spicy come conference tournament time and possibly March Madness time. But today's ticker trivia presented by City Light Shine, available at Total Wine, Lee's Liquor, and here at the South Point Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Hockey question for you. On this date in sports history, December 3rd, 1999, Ottawa Senators right winger Kevin Deenan became the 5th player in NHL history to score 300 career goals and record 2,000 penalty minutes. That's a lot of times in the box. Who is the all-time leader in penalty minutes in the NHL? So we were looking for who spent the most time in the penalty box. The active in the NHL from 1974 to 1988, David Williams, known as the Tiger, currently holds the record for most penalty minutes for a player in the league with 3,971 minutes spent in the penalty box. The closest active player to Williams is Tom Wilson, who we all hate. Currently just shy of the 1,600 minute mark. So 2,300 minutes shy of Tiger there in the penalty box. I don't know if that will ever be beat.
Yeah, I don't think so. Did you say we all hate Tom Wilson?
Yeah. Do you not?
Yes, it's the Knights Caps rivalry thing. I get it.
Well, not just Knights Cat. He has a long history of dirty hits in the National Hockey League, not just in the Stanley Cup against us here in Las Vegas against the Knights. But yeah, Tom Wilson, a lot of cheap shots.
Yeah. I just have been blinded by the Caps since last year with Ovi taking over so I think that team is, I don't know, better and more likable than they probably are, right? From what their run last year. But, okay, let's get to it. Let's get to our picks for the day. And then just some reminders. We're back tomorrow again, 10 a.m. We have Dwayne Colucci from the Rampart joining us. We'll also go over, I'll give out my NFL top 10 going into week 14. We'll break down that game again, which if you haven't seen on the YouTube channel, we already did a preview of it with Matt, and that is the Cowboys and the Lions. So looking forward to that one. We got to really dive in, find some anytime touchdowns or player props, because we got to imagine we're going to get some points in that Thursday night game. Friday, it is the Football Frenzy. Make sure and join us. That is at noon. We will go through all 9 title games with Chris Andrews and Vinny, and then we will hit week 14 of the NFL, as we always do. So probably 2 hours this Friday coming up on Sports by the Book. So now it is time for best bets on this Wednesday. I'll give out my college football bets on Friday too, unless there's any moving lines. But I gave some that I like with Chris Fallica. Go back if you missed that. Gave out some picks from both of us. All right, to the whiteboard. Here we go. I'll start it off. Then we'll throw it over to Ryan, see what he likes today. But I am going with the college basketball play here in under UCLA and Washington, under 142.5. Stars and Devils, I'm going under that 6. Back-to-back for Dallas. But they did save Jake Ottinger for this matchup. So 2 good goalies going between him and Markstrom. And then I'm half a unit, splitting it up, taking a shot, plus money here on some dogs. Caps as a dog here, laying the puck line, plus 170. Shop around, that's the best number I saw. And then Flyers, plus 120. So it is plus 110 here at the South Point. So we are not alone in liking Philadelphia tonight. It's already been bet by some of the sharps, and they moved that 10 cents already. All right, to Ryan for his best bets.
I am also going to tag along with those Philadelphia Flyers being able to beat the Sabres at home, getting the plus price. And then I'm taking the Ducks to beat the Mammoth by at least 2 goals, getting over $2. So we'll just need one of them to win in order to be plus on the night. A little either getting the dime or having a pretty good night with the Ducks getting it done, or both there. So only 2 plays in the NHL, Flyers and Ducks to cover the puck line.
We have definitely found some success hitting some underdogs in hockey so far. So we want to keep that going. But, I mean, as good as the best teams are, there is parity in this league, right? And you can find some spots, definitely.
And unless you're playing the Avalanche.
Unless you're playing the Avalanche.
They covered the puck line last night, just the 1.5. They didn't get the 2.5 if you for some reason played the plus 140 there. But, yeah. The Avalanche look unstoppable right now.
It was 1-1 after the first period. I thought maybe the Canucks had a chance. But thank you, everybody, for jumping in the chat. We love to see it so active. JR, Attila. Looks like we got a few new people. Joe, Abraham, welcome in. So thank you guys all. We'll be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. You know where to find us. Sports by the Book YouTube channel. Please also follow our social media pages, Sports by the Book. Instagram is Sports by the Book LV. I'm Alex White. He's Ryan McCormick. We'll be back tomorrow again on Friday for 2 hours for Football Frenzy. Thank you to the crew. I'm not going to name everybody because I'll probably forget somebody. So that's it for us. Again, shout out to the Bear. We appreciate you. Good luck for the rest of the season. For Ryan McCormick, Alex White, we'll be back tomorrow here on Sports by the Book.